Hi, friends. Welcome to this week's video message. I'm Kathy Huffman, the Peace and Power Coach, and I wanted to share some information with you that I hope you find very valuable. I'm reading a book called Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, and sure, this book has been around a few years, so some of you may have read this quite a while ago. I think maybe it came out in 2014 or somewhere around then. But you know how it is. Sometimes you have a book on your shelf or a book that's recommended to you and it takes you a little while to get to it. And so that sometimes happens to me too. One of the things that I've been really interested in was something that I read actually in chapter 2, and that chapter is titled "Sit at the Table." And I really was touched by that chapter. It really resonated with me because it was describing some experiences that I've had in my life in my professional development. She actually shared a story of when she hosted a gathering of some folks from the federal government. And I won't go into the details because maybe you've read that or you want to read it. But she tells a really interesting story about how some of the women in the group, as they were coming to the table, they sort of sat to the side, kind of as spectators rather than taking a seat at the table. And I thought, how many times have I done that? I maybe have not felt like I was part of the main group or the ones who were supposed to sit at the main table. Have you ever been to a gathering like that where there's enough chairs around a conference room table or a boardroom table, or there's sort of the inner group, and then there's chairs for the sort of leftovers or not so important people? And I have found myself in that situation. In fact, just a few years ago, went to a meeting with one of my last jobs, and I'll keep this kind of general to protect privacy, but um, I was kind of actually an add-on to this meeting. I wasn't originally going to attend, so I really kind of was a bystander, an extra person. And I remember when we got to the room, I wasn't sure if there were enough seats for everyone. I wasn't sure there was food served. I wasn't sure if they had counted me as part of that group, and it felt very strange. So I began to take a seat at one of the outer chairs, and one of the leaders of the group motioned me, you know, sit here. What kind of, it's okay. What are you doing? And I remember feeling sort of on the spot, sort of, why was I putting myself at that outer table? Was I good enough to sit at the inner table? Was I important enough? Did I have something to share? And so I kind of forgotten about that situation until I read this chapter in this book. And then I actually remember maybe about almost 10 years ago, I think I actually started giving myself pep talks as I was preparing for meetings and preparing to go to these kinds of situations. And I would tell myself that um, I had important things to bring to the table. It was a phrase that I just used long before I started using I am statements, because there were so many times that I felt like I didn't belong, or I wasn't good enough, or I would hold myself back. In fact, I put on a vision board in those days a picture of a beautifully set uh, dinner table. It wasn't a boardroom table, it wasn't a conference table, but I knew on my vision board what that signified. And it really was, I have much to bring to the table. It was a statement that really meant something for me. It really was a little thing that I could think about and say as I prepared for a meeting or a situation like that. So I share this long story with you just to say, I guess, have you felt this way too? Is this something take a seat at the table, sit at the table, as Cheryl says. Is it something that means something to you as well? Do you find yourself holding yourself back when you could be uh, reminding yourself that you have much to bring to the table, that you can sit at the table? So maybe we can even use I am statements to signify giving ourselves that permission. And I wrote some of those down. Let me see if I can find them here. So I can remind myself that I am welcome. I am welcome. I am knowledgeable. I am talented. I am valued. I am taking a seat at the table. I am feeling more comfortable. I am reminded that I belong. I am enough. I am making important contributions. I do belong. I have much to bring to the table. What do you think of those statements? Do they resonate with you as well? Are there times when you're holding yourself back? Maybe you weren't aware of it, but maybe now you are. And can you use these I am statements to remind yourself to bring your best self to the table, to take that seat at the table and put your best foot forward? I'd love to hear whether this resonated for you, and if you find it valuable. You know how to do that. There's instructions in the email today. Thanks for joining me for this week's video message, and I look forward to seeing you next Friday. Bye for now.